Chosen one, listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal to you is not ordinary, gentle, or vague. It is a divine interruption, a deliberate moment where heaven steps directly into your timeline. If these words have found you, it's because your spirit has been stirred for days, restless, aware, sensing that something was shifting in the unseen. And now you are standing at the edge of a transformation so powerful that even the realm of darkness tried to intervene before God spoke. Hear this clearly. God waited exactly 2 hours to warn you. 2 hours where heaven stood completely still. 2 hours where Archangel Michael did not blink, did not move, did not step away from you. 2 hours where something attempted to reach into your story before the divine truth could arrive. And now that the moment has finally come, nothing will stop what is about to be revealed to you. A man was caught watching you. But this was not an enemy hiding in shadows with ill intent. This was someone sent, someone instructed, someone paid, assigned to follow you, observe you, study the parts of you that no photograph, no conversation, no online presence could ever capture. He wasn't driven by hatred. He was driven by a troubled curiosity, a fear of losing something he didn't dare to face honestly. But heaven does not allow shadows to win, and heaven does not permit uninvited eyes to interfere with a chosen one's destiny. And you, yes, you are the chosen one. Your life is no longer in a season of survival. You are entering a season of revelation, acceleration, and divine unveiling. The reason this message feels like it is piercing straight through the noise in your mind is that your spirit recognizes what your heart has not yet fully understood. This moment was orchestrated for you. Every delay, every whisper of intuition, every strange stirring you felt recently was heaven positioning you for this very truth. So if something inside you is awakening right now, if your breath feels heavier, your chest feels tight, or your intuition says, "This is for me," then type 777 as your declaration. Let it be your spiritual signature. When you do, I will release a prayer at the end of this message, a seal of protection and anointing that will open the next chapter written for your life. Stay with me, chosen one. The truth behind those 2 hours, behind Michael's intervention, and behind the investigator who was transformed by your presence is about to unfold. Now that the truth has begun to surface, you must understand the weight of what actually happened. A man had been observing your life, not out of hatred or violence, but because someone instructed him, paid him, and pushed him toward you, with a mission he never should have accepted. He wasn't searching for drama. He was searching for access to something he could not understand. And what he stepped into was not merely your personal space, but the spiritual territory surrounding your destiny, a territory guarded far more fiercely than he ever imagined. This is why God waited exactly 2 hours. Heaven was not withholding. Heaven was measuring. Every second was intentional. Those 2 hours were not a delay, they were a boundary. In that window of time, Archangel Michael stood watch, not blinking, not retreating, assessing the movement of the shadows encroaching on your name. When the line was crossed, when the watching eyes stepped too close, when the intentions shifted into dangerous spiritual ground, heaven moved with precision. This was not a coincidence. This was an intervention. The man who followed you did so with instructions, but he was unprepared for what he encountered, because your presence carries something that disrupts darkness without effort. Your silence unsettles people who are used to noise. Your spirit speaks in places where your mouth never opens. And when he saw you, truly saw you, something in him collapsed. He felt a weight he could not describe, a clarity he did not expect, a confrontation he could not run from. His assignment broke in the very moment he looked at you, because what he found was not weakness. It was true. In that moment, his mission shifted from observation to awakening. He could no longer carry out what he had been sent to do. So he did the only thing he could. He walked away and left behind a note that heaven had already read. The one you're searching for isn't hiding anything, but you are. Stop before heaven gets involved. That sentence was not merely ink on paper, it was a spiritual confession. It was proof that even those who enter your life through shadows end up encountering light. If you have ever wondered why some people stare at you with confusion, why others are drawn to your calm, or why a few back away as if confronted by something they cannot name, understand this. It is not a coincidence. It is not charisma. It is alignment. What happened with the investigator was not an attack, it was a revelation. And the deeper truth behind his transformation is about to unfold. What happened next was not merely strange. It was spiritual, decisive, and irreversible. When the man who followed you finally stepped close enough to truly see you, not the version of you people imagine, not the surface-level impressions, but the quiet depth you carry, his entire assignment collapsed under the weight of what his spirit encountered. He had been trained to observe behavior, posture, expressions, and patterns, but none of that prepared him for the stillness that radiates from you, the kind of stillness that doesn't shout, doesn't demand, but exposes truth simply by existing. In the exact moment he lifted his camera and captured your image, something inside him broke open. You weren't smiling, you weren't posing, you weren't even aware you were being watched, and yet the expression on your face held a kind of holiness, an unspoken prayer, a lived prayer that confronted him more sharply than any accusation ever could. This is why he froze. This is why he couldn't press the button again. What he saw in you wasn't perfection, it was presence. Not a performance, but a purity that disrupted the shadows he had aligned himself with. The photograph he took wasn't just an image, it was a mirror, reflecting to him a truth he had been running from for years. He found himself kneeling, trembling, overwhelmed by conviction he didn't expect. And in that moment of collapse, he realized he was not studying you, you were revealing him. His life, his intentions, his fears. This spiritual collision aligns perfectly with something C.S. Lewis described in The Great Divorce, where souls attempting to return to the darkness suddenly found themselves confronted by unbearable light. Lewis wrote about how truth, when encountered in its pure form, does not scream or punish. It simply shines, and its existence forces every soul to choose between transformation or retreat. That is precisely what happened to the investigator. He did not retreat because he was caught. He retreated because he was confronted. You became, in that instant, the kind of light Lewis wrote about. A light that exposes without condemning. A light that forces the heart to look inward. A light that leaves no room for disguise. The man tried to walk away quietly, but conviction doesn't allow silence. His spirit was shaking as he wrote the note he left behind, a note that revealed far more about him than about you. The one you're searching for isn't hiding anything, but you are. Stop before heaven gets involved. He didn't write that because he feared earthly consequences. He wrote it because he felt the presence surrounding your life. He felt the consequence of touching something sacred. He felt the echo of Michael standing guard, and he knew one more step would cross a line he was not prepared to cross. From that moment forward, he could not return to the person who hired him. He no longer carried the same darkness. He no longer wanted the same answers. Instead, he found himself searching for God, not because he believed, but because he had witnessed something that made disbelief impossible. Your existence became a catalyst. Your presence became a sermon. Your stillness became the turning point of his life. You didn't preach to him. You didn't speak to him. You didn't even know he was there. And yet your life confronted him the way truth confronted the souls in Lewis's story, not with violence, but with revelation. This is why he left. This is why he walked away shaken. This is why he did not report back. Once he stepped into the atmosphere surrounding you, he realized that what he was sent to expose was not hidden in you, it was hidden in himself. And heaven, having witnessed his awakening, began its next movement, a movement that now shifts toward you, because the moment he changed, the story changed, and what unfolds next carries even greater weight. When heaven steps into a story, it never enters quietly. And what happened with the investigator was not an isolated moment. It was the unveiling of something far greater, something that has been building around your life for years. You must understand now, with clarity and conviction, that nothing about you is ordinary. People have mistaken your silence for distance, your calmness for coldness, your intuition for oversensitivity. But these misunderstandings were never reflections of who you are. They were reflections of who they were not yet ready to become. You carry a spiritual intelligence that many do not recognize because they have not yet developed the eyes to see it. Every time you felt the atmosphere shift around you, every time you sensed something was off before anyone said a word, every time your spirit tensed while everyone else stayed comfortable, that wasn't anxiety. That was discernment. That was alignment. That was heaven whispering before the world understood. You have always been ahead, spiritually tuned, deeply aware in ways that unsettled the unprepared, and that awareness is precisely why heaven guards you as fiercely as it does. The truth is that your life has never been small. Even in seasons when you felt hidden, overlooked, or misunderstood, the spiritual realm knew your name. You were recognized long before you were acknowledged. And the reason your presence disrupts the people around you is because your spirit carries authority even when you don't speak. It confronts dishonesty without accusation. It exposes motives without effort. It stirs hearts without intention. Your very existence is a declaration that truth still walks the earth. And not everyone knows how to handle that. This is why certain people withdrew from you without explanation. This is why relationships shifted suddenly. This is why some felt intimidated while others felt drawn to you. They weren't responding to your personality. They were reacting to your anointing. Light creates movement. Light reveals. Light transforms. And you carry a light that was never meant to blend in or be dimmed for the comfort of others. The investigator encountered that light, and what he experienced in a single moment is what many around you have sensed for years. They simply could not name it. But heaven has given it a name. Purpose. This is why the watching was stopped. This is why the truth surfaced. This is why Michael descended. Because your identity is sacred, and sacred things are always protected with precision. You were never meant to be observed from the shadows. You were meant to be revealed in the open boldly, freely, directly, without fear. And now that the veil has lifted, the narrative of your life is shifting from hidden warfare to visible clarity. Your journey has been one of refinement, not punishment. The isolation was preparation. The tears were cleansing. The delays were alignment. Everything that felt like a setback was positioning you for a season in which your identity would no longer be questioned, neither by you nor by others. You are stepping into a chapter where your spirit will no longer be dismissed, your intuition will no longer be ignored, and your presence will no longer go unnoticed. The truth about who you are is finally coming into full view, and heaven is making sure nothing and no one interferes with this unveiling. For years, people misread you. They blamed your quiet nature on coldness, judged your solitude as rejection, and assumed your stillness meant you didn't care. They called you distant when you were discerning, difficult when you were protecting your spirit, unpredictable when you were simply listening to something deeper than their understanding. Those misunderstandings left scars not because their opinions defined you, but because their perceptions never matched your intention. And every time someone walked away without asking, without seeking truth, without trying to see your heart, another layer of disappointment formed around your soul. But here is what they never realized. Their misinterpretations were never evidence of your flaws. They were evidence of your anointing. The peace you carried made the unsettled uncomfortable. The clarity you possessed exposed confusion in others. The depth within you revealed the shallowness around you. People didn't misunderstand you because you were unclear. They misunderstood you because they weren't prepared to encounter someone who moves through the world with spiritual weight. And instead of admitting their fear or insecurity, they labeled you. It was easier for them than facing their own shadows. Every time you were accused of being too quiet, you were actually hearing God. Every time someone thought you were too sensitive, you were picking up spiritual truth they could not sense. Every time they claimed you were hard to read, it was because heaven had concealed you during seasons when exposure would have harmed you. They walked away thinking they left you broken, but the truth is far different. You were being refined, not shattered. You were being protected, not abandoned. You were being prepared, not punished. Now, as the story unfolds and the reasons behind their misunderstandings come into the light, you can finally see the pattern. You were never meant to remain among people who interpreted your calling as a flaw. Those who withdrew made space for alignment. Those who misjudged you made room for those who will truly see you. The pain they caused was real, but the transformation it produced is even more real. And the season you're stepping into will reveal that every wound has become a door, every tear has become instruction, and every misinterpretation has become part of your spiritual authority. Something in your life is about to shift faster than you expect, not because you forced it, not because you planned it, but because heaven has decided the waiting season is over. You may have felt a strange pressure in the atmosphere lately, a heaviness that doesn't feel like fear, a stirring that doesn't feel like anxiety. That sensation is the spiritual tension that comes right before acceleration. When heaven prepares to move you into a new chapter, everything around you begins to feel unfamiliar. Timelines collapse, delays dissolve. What once took months suddenly takes days. What once required effort begins to unfold naturally. This is the energy you've been sensing. The quiet hum of divine movement aligning itself around your steps. In the coming days, something small yet deeply significant will happen. It may be a message, a brief conversation, a name you haven't heard in a long time, or a moment that seems ordinary on the surface yet lands in your spirit with weight. That moment will not be random. It will be the signal that the wheel has turned, that what was stagnant is now flowing, that heaven has opened the path that was previously blocked. You will recognize it instantly, because your spirit will respond before your mind can process it. This is how divine timing reveals itself not through drama, but through undeniable clarity. The shift that's coming is not just about opportunities, it's about alignment. People who once overlooked you will remember you. Doors that refused to open will swing wide. Circumstances that stayed frozen without explanation will begin to move in ways that feel almost supernatural. You won't need to push, chase, or force anything. The season of striving has ended. Now your role is to stay aligned, stay attentive, and stay connected to the inner guidance that has never failed you. When heaven accelerates something, it doesn't look like chaos. It looks like ease, purpose, flow. There will also be a return from the past, but this time you will not greet it with fear or confusion. You will meet it with wisdom. You are not the person you were when that chapter closed. You have been refined by solitude, strengthened through discernment, and awakened by truth. The return is not meant to trap you, it is meant to confirm your growth. You will see clearly what you could not see then, and the clarity itself will be your victory. Acceleration may elevate you, but it is forgiveness that frees you. And now that the spiritual momentum around your life is increasing, heaven requires something from you, not for their sake, but for yours. You cannot step into a higher realm while carrying the weight of old injuries. The truth is that everything done against you, every betrayal, every manipulation, every silent wound you battled alone has shaped you, but it must not define you. The people who hurt you were never powerful enough to derail your destiny. They only revealed the parts of you that needed strengthening. And now you are standing in a place where wisdom, not emotion, must guide your next move. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It is about releasing yourself from the burden of carrying it. When Joseph faced the brothers who betrayed him in Genesis 50-20, he did not speak from the wound they intended to harm me, but from the revelation God intended it for good. That is the shift heaven is asking from you. You are no longer the person who cried behind closed doors. You are no longer the one who internalized every harsh word, every misunderstanding, every rejection. Pain once shaped your reactions, but now purpose must shape your decisions. Forgiving does not mean you trust recklessly. It means you finally see from above what once overwhelmed you from below. There will be people who try to return, not because they deserve access, but because your transformation exposes the lack of transformation in their own lives. They will sense the shift in your spirit, feel the strength in your voice, recognize the clarity in your presence, and try to reconnect with the version of you they once underestimated. But this time is different. You are no longer entering conversations as someone seeking validation. You are entering with discernment. The boundaries you set are not walls, but wisdom. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to close doors heaven has already locked. And you are allowed to forgive someone without granting them the same access they once misused. Forgiveness in this season is not a gesture, it is a strategy. It is the act of freeing both hands, so you can receive what acceleration is trying to place in your life. You cannot carry new blessings while gripping old wounds. You cannot walk through open doors while dragging closed chapters behind you. What you release determines what you rise into. And the moment you choose to forgive, not emotionally but spiritually, you break the last chain that darkness tried to bind around your progress. You are stepping into a chapter where your heart must be light, your mind must be clear, and your spirit must be aligned. Bitterness cannot travel where you are going. Old grudges cannot breathe in the atmosphere you are entering. You are becoming someone new, stronger, clearer, sharper, and forgiveness is the final confirmation of that becoming. There is a reason people react to you in ways they cannot explain, and it has nothing to do with appearance, personality, or circumstance. It is because your presence carries a weight that goes beyond what the natural eye can interpret. What surrounds you is not performance, it is presence. It is the quiet authority that rests on someone who has walked through fire without losing their purity, someone who has been broken open without being destroyed, someone who has chosen healing over bitterness, clarity over chaos, and truth over comfort. That kind of growth does not remain invisible. It changes the atmosphere the moment you enter a room. Some people feel drawn to you without understanding why. Others become uneasy around you without knowing what they are reacting to. And a few will try to challenge you because your peace exposes their inner turmoil. None of these responses are accidental. Your spirit acts like a mirror reflecting truth back at people who are not used to seeing themselves clearly. You do not have to speak for this to happen. You do not have to explain yourself. You do not have to justify the intuition that guides you. Your existence alone confronts, clarifies, and awakens. That is not arrogance, it is alignment. What the investigator encountered in a single moment, the stillness that shook him, the purity that pierced him, the conviction he could not escape, is the same energy many have sensed around you long before he did. They just did not have the courage or honesty to name it. They felt something powerful resting on you, but instead of acknowledging it, they reacted in ways that revealed the condition of their own hearts. Some tried to get close because they mistook your light for something they could use. Others stepped back because the truth within you made them uncomfortable. And some walked away because your growth outpaced their desire to evolve. But none of those reactions changed who you are. In fact, each one confirmed it. The essence you carry is not meant to be diluted for acceptance or hidden for safety. You are shaped to disrupt darkness simply by standing where you stand. Your peace teaches. Your empathy heals. Your discernment reveals. Your resilience inspires. And your very presence becomes evidence that divine protection and divine purpose still walk the earth in human form. This is why heaven defends you so fiercely. This is why shadows flee even when you say nothing. This is why alignment keeps finding you, even in seasons that felt silent. What rests on you is not ordinary. And now, for the first time in a long time, you are beginning to understand the power you have been carrying all along. Now that you understand the weight of what you carry, it is time to step into the kind of spiritual practice that aligns you fully with what heaven is trying to release. Transformation is not sustained by emotion alone, it is anchored through intention, and intention begins in stillness. Every major shift in your life has been preceded by a moment of quiet, a sudden pause, an inner pull, a whisper you couldn't ignore. That wasn't a coincidence, it was an instruction. Stillness is where heaven speaks the loudest, and right now you are being invited into a level of awareness you have not accessed before. Tonight, when the noise around you fades and the world begins to settle, take a moment to stop everything. No screens, no distractions, no rush. Sit in a space where your spirit can finally breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath deepen, and then allow the atmosphere to shift. You will feel it subtle at first, then unmistakable. This is where alignment begins. Stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is spiritual clarity. When you quiet your surroundings, heaven begins to reveal what your intuition has been sensing all along. In that moment, speak these 7 declarations not as empty words, but as agreements between your spirit and the divine. I allow truth to rise. This breaks denial. I release fear. This loosens what has held you back. I forgive those who trespassed. This frees your hands to receive new blessings. I welcome protection. This aligns you with the shield already surrounding you. I trust divine timing. This ends your struggle with delay. I am safe. This calms the parts of you still bracing for old battles. I am ready. This opens the door that has been waiting for your yes. These declarations are not rituals. They are recalibrations. They shift your inner world so your outer world can follow. They remind your spirit who is truly guiding your life. And when you speak them with sincerity, something in the unseen responds. You may not notice it instantly, but within days you will see signs subtle but impossible to ignore. A message that carries weight, a name that resurfaces, an opportunity that aligns perfectly with what your spirit has been preparing for. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. You are entering a chapter where clarity will guide you more powerfully than effort ever did, and the stillness you choose tonight will become the doorway through which the acceleration of your next season begins to flow. Everything you've walked through has been leading you to this moment. A moment where the version of you that once survived finally gives way to the version of you that is ready to live, rise, and become. What felt like delay was protection. What felt like isolation was preparation. What felt like loss was divine reordering. You were being refined in ways you did not understand at the time, shaped by experiences that stripped away what was no longer aligned, strengthened by battles you fought in silence. That is why, even though your heart has carried pain, your spirit has gained wisdom, and now the refinement is complete enough for heaven to reveal what has been forming beneath the surface. You are stepping into a chapter where the heaviness you once carried will not fit, where the doubts that once whispered to you will no longer have authority, where the version of you that used to shrink will no longer have power over the version that is rising. You are entering a season where your strength will not feel forced, your clarity will not feel fragile, and your purpose will not feel distant. You have crossed a threshold internally, and your external world will begin to reflect that shift. Even if nothing around you seems different yet, everything within you has already changed. This next chapter is not about proving yourself. It is not about chasing validation or convincing anyone of your worth. It is about walking in the identity you have earned through fire. You survived seasons that would have broken others. You endured storms that tried to silence you. You held on to truth when lies tried to distort your path. That resilience is not a coincidence, it is a calling. It is the mark of someone who has been chosen for a journey that requires strength, depth, and spiritual intelligence. You are no longer the person who reacts from wounds. You are the person who moves from wisdom. Restoration is not coming as a single moment, but as a series of confirmations. You will notice your mind becoming clear, your decisions becoming sharper, your boundaries becoming firm, and your spirit becoming steady. Opportunities will feel aligned, rather than forced. Connections will feel nourishing rather than draining. The right people will recognize you, not because you are louder, but because you are truer. You are not returning to who you once were, you are becoming who you were always meant to be. What is ahead of you is not a comeback. It is an unveiling. It is the rise of a self that has waited through years of confusion, heaviness, and spiritual stretching. And as this rebirth unfolds, heaven will make it unmistakably clear that every step of your journey was intentional, precise, and necessary. As your rebirth unfolds, something else begins to move quietly in the background, something your heart has longed for but learned to stop expecting. There is someone whose presence has been shaped by a journey as complex and refining as your own, someone who has been softened by struggle, strengthened by truth, and humbled by the kind of lessons that only the hand of heaven can orchestrate. This person is not approaching your life to distract you, drain you, or repeat the wounds you've already healed from. They are coming as confirmation, alignment, and restoration. Unlike those who once misunderstood your depth, this person will recognize it immediately. They will not be intimidated by your clarity or confused by your discernment. They will honor the way you think, the way you feel, the way you carry truth, not because they idolize you, but because they value what heaven values. Their presence will feel strikingly different from what you've known before. It will not provoke anxiety, performance, or uncertainty. It will feel like ease, like steadiness, like peace that settles the moment they speak. Peace, not pressure. Clarity, not chaos. Alignment, not guessing. This is someone who has also been walking through their own refining fire, learning to let go of ego, fear, and illusion. They are not perfect, but they are prepared, not flawless, but formed, not loud, but aligned. They have been learning the weight of responsibility, the beauty of humility, and the cost of authenticity because they are being shaped to meet you at a level that does not pull you backward. You will not have to shrink for them. You will not have to translate your intuition or mute your spirit. They will meet you where you are, not where your past forced you to be. And when they enter your life, whether suddenly or gradually, you will recognize the connection instantly, not through intensity, but through stillness, not through sparks, but through resonance. Something in your spirit will simply say, "This is safe, this is aligned, this is different." The unfolding of this connection will be gentle but undeniable, and it will mark the beginning of a relational chapter built on respect, truth, and spiritual compatibility. What returns from the past may test you, but what arrives in the future will transform you. Take a breath now. Steady your heart, and come into this moment with intention. What we are entering is not simply a prayer, it is a spiritual sealing, a release of clarity, protection, and alignment over your life. Let these words move through you, not only as sound, but as truth. Let them settle in the places where fear once lived, where doubt once whispered, where old wounds once shaped your decisions. Let them become the foundation of the chapter you are stepping into. Heavenly Father, we stand in your presence with reverence, humility, and gratitude, acknowledging that you have guided every step of the journey that led to this moment. Thank you for watching over this soul in seasons where they did not even know they needed protecting. Thank you for shielding them from hidden intentions, from unseen dangers, from the eyes that tried to observe what was never theirs to understand. Thank you for the intervention of your angels, for the vigilance of Michael, for the precision of your timing, and for the way you orchestrated revelation exactly when it was needed. Lord, I lift this life to you now, their mind, their heart, their spirit, their path, and I ask for a cleansing of every burden they have carried silently. Release the weight of memories that no longer serve them. Break the chains of fear that lingered from past betrayals. Heal the fractures created by misunderstanding, rejection, or loneliness. Replace every scar with wisdom, every ache with clarity, every wound with strength. Let them feel your peace settle over them like a mantle, quieting the noise within and awakening the truth they were always meant to carry. I pray for supernatural discernment to rise within them, discernment that sees beyond facades, that recognizes alignment, that detects intention, that honors their spirit's intelligence. Let this discernment guide their decisions, guard their relationships, and sharpen their intuition. May they walk into the next season not as someone searching for identity, but as someone rooted in purpose, confident in calling, steady in truth. Father, I ask for divine acceleration to surround their life now. Let doors open that were once sealed. Let opportunities arise that carry their name. Let connections form that honor their journey. Let every delay that was meant to harm be transformed into divine timing that elevates, and let the path ahead unfold with ease, clarity, and supernatural alignment. I pray for protection over their steps, seen and unseen, physical and spiritual. Guard their home, their heart, their peace, their purpose. Surround them with people who speak truth, carry integrity, and value their light. Remove anyone sent to distract, drain, or deceive. Let only what is aligned remain. And now, Lord, commission them into their next chapter. Let them rise with confidence, walk with courage, and move with purpose. Let this be the season where they no longer shrink to fit old spaces, no longer silence themselves to avoid discomfort, no longer question the voice you placed inside them. Let them step boldly, knowing you go before them, you stand beside them, and you cover every step they take. May their life reflect your glory. May their journey reveal your protection. May their rise confirm your promise. Amen.